Hello, beautiful people! Welcome to Wisdom Bites. My name is David Jarzinka, and today is Father Craig Friday.
And I'm Father Craig. I'm here with David Jarzinka on Father Craig Friday. Just say my name a lot. It's weird.
Yeah.
I feel like I should say your name a little bit.
Yeah, but we did the intro, and then you did it backwards.
I know.
Should we just do that for the whole show?
Well, yeah.
Just
we should
back and forth,
just do that for the whole show.
Yeah.
Back and
You'd
forth.
love that, right?
They'd love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. We're back. We're better than ever.
Yes.
We're highly caffeinated.
That's right. I had 4 espressos today. 4.
It's going to be a good day.
It's a wonderful day.
Yeah. So it is a new year. We've already gotten one podcast under our belt.
That's right.
It's time for round 2.
Fight.
Indeed. If you haven't heard, we're changing up the podcast format for just these first couple of weeks, and then we'll see how it goes. But instead of trying to rattle through 3 questions in like 15 minutes, we're just going to take one topic and just talk about it for the full 10 to 15 minutes.
That's right. Have some fun with it.
Yeah. Try to go a little bit deeper than we have been able to go in the past, which is really fitting because the topic that we have for today is going to need way more than 15 minutes.
That's right.
But we'll just give you a taste, just like a little bite of wisdom.
Yeah. Welcome to Wisdom Bites.
There it is.
Yeah. Father Craig Friday with David Jarzinka.
Yes, there. We will only be talking about our intro the entire time. That does need more than 15 minutes.
Okay, let's roll. I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay.
Father Craig, this week we are going to talk about the Eucharist.
Nice.
So to start things off, I'm just going to read paragraph 1324 from the Catechism. It's on the Eucharist.
Good start.
Ready? The Eucharist is the source and summit of the Christian life. The other sacraments, and indeed all ecclesiastical ministries and works of the apostolate, are bound up with the Eucharist and are oriented toward it. For in the blessed Eucharist is contained the whole spiritual good of the Church, namely Christ himself, our Pasch.
Oh, Pasch.
Pasch?
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah. Someone will correct me for being wrong on it, though.
Yeah, please know that we are very, very open to correction. If you know something that we don't, we are not too proud to hear that and listen to the things that you're saying. So we do welcome that kind of stuff. But Father Craig, what does this paragraph mean? Okay,
so it's kind of interesting. I was trying to find, because source and summit comes from one of the Second Vatican documents, and I was trying to pull it up real quick. That's why I'm trying to Google and drive at the same time. Not drive, but talking about the podcast. But there was another part of it after that, and I wish I could remember it, because I got to go to a really cool thing. I got to go to a priest conference with the St. Paul Center, and it had Scott Hahn and Ralph Martin and John Boardsma and Lawrence Feingold. And Dr. Lawrence Feingold has a book on the Eucharist, and we had some talks from him that were really wonderful, and he talked a little bit about this. He had said, we usually quote the first part of it, but the second part of it we don't. And I just really wanted to pull it up. So it's not actually from the Catechism. The Catechism is quoting, I think, Lumen Gentium, maybe?
Okay.
So if you look it up, you might be able to find it in the bottom. I'll keep talking while you're looking for it. But the Eucharist is the source and the summit of the Christian life. Think about it. It's Jesus, right? I recently, my bishop was talking at a Presbyterial Council meeting, and we were talking about how this very disturbing statistic has come up that many Catholics don't believe in the real presence, or don't know that it's the real presence of the Lord in the Mass when we celebrate the Mass, which is also called the Eucharist, right? And that we need to really bring people back to the central truth of our faith. And I think it's... this is one of those central mysteries that, I can't understand in my head why someone, how people don't understand this truth when we live this faith, because it's kind of like, what are we doing if this is not true, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I think about when we think about the source and the summit of the Christian life. It's where everything comes from, and it's where everything goes, right? Everything comes from Jesus for us, and everything is directed to Jesus, through Jesus, and to the Father. Like everything is centered on this beautiful and incredible mystery, where God makes Himself present to us under the species of bread and wine, for us to share in His life, His death, and His resurrection, and to offer His sacrifice, the perfect sacrifice to God the Father. So what we cannot give to God on our own, He gives to us so that we can give to God with Him. And I think this was forgive me, Dr. Feingold, if I get it wrong, but what I take away from the talk, one of the talks that he gives, is that this mystery is made present to us so that the faithful can participate in it and offer that sacrifice back to God. This is like the very central thing of what it means to be a Catholic, and the reason why God becomes a man is to give us this perfect sacrifice that reconciles us to God, that we can share in and offer as our own. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of my initial thoughts on this. And the other sacraments, and indeed all ecclesial ministries, works of the apostolate, are bound up with the Eucharist and oriented toward it. For in the Blessed Eucharist is contained the whole spiritual good of the Church, namely Christ Himself, our Pasch, right? I think when you think about the other sacraments being pointing toward it. So Eucharist is the fulfillment of initiation into the life of the Church, and so you would be baptized, and then traditionally you would have been confirmed, and then you would receive Eucharist. In the early Church, all at once, it would have happened even as an infant. Now it's broken up a little differently, and often confirmation will come after Eucharist. But there's some movements in the Church for what's called restored order, which would be pretty neat, I think. But the Eucharist is the fulfillment of that. So baptism equips you and confirmation strengthens you in order to be able to enter into Eucharist. And the Eucharist is also meant to sustain us for the works of the other sacraments as well, of living our baptism and our confirmations in the world, to nourish us in the spiritual life in that way, and to enable our continued journey toward God. And then, of course, Eucharist nourishes us in living out marriage or holy order. What takes place in the healing sacraments of anointing of the sick or reconciliation, of being reunited to God is kind of the whole goal of Eucharist too. That we'd be one with God, as Christ prays in this high priestly prayer, that all would be one as the Father and I are one. And it's the place of unity. It's the source of unity. It's everything for us. Yeah.
So you talked about all of the good things that happens when we receive the Eucharist, mm-hmm. and how it strengthens us and all those things.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting at home right now listening to this, or driving and listening to this, mm-hmm. and I hear all that, and I think, I've been receiving the Eucharist since I was a child, and mm-hmm. I don't see the effects of that. How could I receive the Eucharist in a way that those things come to life?
Yeah, so we all receive the same Eucharist, but the effects in us vary according to our dispositions. So how we were prepared, how open we are to that grace. And so there's certainly some work that needs to take place for us, because liturgy means the work of the people. And so the Mass is a liturgy. The Eucharist mm-hmm. is a liturgy. And it's the work of the people sharing in the work of Christ, offered to God the Father in praise and thanksgiving, made possible and strengthened by the Holy Spirit who indwells within us, right? And so there's some work that we need to do to receive those effects of the Eucharist. And gosh, there's a lot of it. But I really didn't realize this is a point that a lot of people are missing. And so I'm going to, I'm taking again from Dr. Feingold, and I'm just going to emphasize this. It's something I've always realized since reading the Second Vatican documents on all of our, our faith. But what's missing is the understanding that all of the faithful are meant to offer sacrifice. All of the faithful are meant to offer sacrifice. And so what we offer in sacrifice in the Mass is first and foremost Christ's sacrifice. But alongside through that is everything that we do during our week or in our day before coming to a daily Mass is what we're offering in sacrifice to God, the keeping of His law, right? The preaching of His word, the ordering of our lives according to the law, and the work of charity. All of those things are what we are offering in the Eucharist. And so if we're just sort of showing up to the Eucharist to sort of get what we can out of it, like we go to a movie and watch a good movie or something like that, like we're just sort of observing, we're doing it wrong. and we're not going to get a lot out of it. And it's going to be incredibly boring because, it's the same thing again. Why can't they come up with something new, right? Whereas if we really treat it as a work that we're a part of, where we carry our sacrifices to it and we offer our prayers of all that week in it, then it's new every time, right? I make all things new, right? And it's going to be something that disposes our hearts to receive the graces that are inexhaustible. If we stretch our heart in love during the week, there'd be more of a capacity for us to receive the love of God. We receive it according to our disposition in that way. Some other things, of course, are reading the scriptures ahead of time, how we prepare with like a fast before the Mass, how we prepare ourselves in dress, right, in gesture, in singing the music and these sorts of things, that we're actually praying the prayers that are proper to the people. All of those things, and the works of mercy that we do during the week, offer gift and sacrifice to God. All of those things are going to help us to receive the graces that are already present in the Eucharist. We'll be disposed to receive them more fully in ourselves.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love that. I think that the things that stuck out to me with that was the disposition of the heart, but then like the liturgy being the work of the people. And you mentioned offering sacrifice during the Mass. Like, how could I, as a lay person, offer sacrifice in the midst of the Mass? What does that mean?
Okay, so what the ministerial priest, the ordained priest, does is they make present in the sacramental form the mystery of Christ's Paschal mystery, right? They make it present for the people to enter into.
Okay.
Yeah. And so what does it look like to offer sacrifice? Would be, well, as you have lived your week, that you've sacrificed time for prayer, that you sacrificed what you want for the sake of loving your spouse or your children, that you've offered sacrifice to care for the poor and the sick and the homeless and the lame, that you've offered a time of your day each day to prayer for God. That's a sacrifice that you make. That you would give a gift perhaps of your time or your money or your giftedness for the good of another in the name of God, right? Those are sacrifices, yeah? And there's a priest and there's a victim and there's an altar, right? Wherever a sacrifice is offered. And it's in a certain sense that the priest, well, not a certain sense, the priest is offering sacrifice in praise and thanksgiving, and also for the forgiveness of one's sins. So there's a penitential element to it, right? To recognize that, for the sake of sin, some reparation is needed even. And so we would have that sort of in mind to realize, okay, yeah, I've made these mistakes. I want to do some penance for those things, and I'm going to give a gift of my time and my attention and my talent and my finances in some fashion in reparation for that, united to the sacrifice of Christ. There's a victim, which is Christ, but there's also you become the victim because you become a little Christ, right? And so you're sacrificing what you want for the good of another and for God's will, right? And the altar in which you offer the sacrifice is Christ himself. It's his own sacrifice, his own offering that you're offering it on top of. Kind of all those things. Does that help? I don't know if I really got your question.
I think so. If we're bringing in all of the things from our week, we're bringing in our whole lives. I mean, the goal would be to be a total gift of self to Jesus, to be united with him.
Right.
But we do that through all of the little things, all of the stuff.
All the stuff in the week. And then at the actual Mass, I think it would be through the intentionality of offering that Mass for particular intentions.
Okay.
Right. That I'd be praying for my family, be praying for the things that are in my mind, for all those who asked me to pray for them, for Miss So-and-so who has cancer, right? For So-and-so who died, right? All those things.
Nice.
Yeah.
When you were talking earlier, so you mentioned the sacrifice and then you mentioned the preparation. And in the pew missals that we have here, there's a list of common prayers, and it's got the Our Father, Hail Mary, classic ones. But I think it's funny it's in the list of common prayers, but there's St. Thomas Aquinas's prayer before Mass and prayer after Mass.
Right.
And I think that praying those before and after Mass help to make real all of the other things that you mentioned.
Yeah,
because St. Thomas Aquinas
absolutely.
talks about all of them, about like our need for God, coming to the divine physician, offering down our sacrifices at the altar.
Well, another thing that was really cool about this priest conference I went to is Scott Hahn talked about one of his books. It is Right and Just, and he talked about the justice of religion and sacrifice, and it's something that's owed to God. It's not something we sort of do out of the surplus of our hearts, and if we sort of feel like it, it's like, no, it's a duty to offer sacrifice to God, and he called it transcendent justice. And I would love to unpack that more and read that book. I haven't had a chance yet, but it is something that we're obliged to do. It is owed to God, and there's nothing we can really do to repay that debt. And that's kind of the point of Christ's sacrifice, is that he offers an infinitely pleasing sacrifice for an infinitely displeasing offense against God, namely sin. And so we're finally able to offer what is due to God in the sacrifice of Christ, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's really neat. But just this idea that it is a duty, it is an obligation, something that's owed to God. Yeah.
Nice. Oh my gosh. There's so much more we can get into.
I know, there's a lot there.
But we're running out of time. So we're going to have to... Oh, I have one last question.
Okay, go.
This did come in from the audience, so you're getting a little bonus one today. Father Craig, what should I do, or what would happen if I received the Eucharist, but then got sick and shortly afterwards threw up?
I'm sorry to laugh. This question does come up.
It's real, yeah.
It does come up. And so I would say...
probably, one, don't come to Mass if you know you're sick.
Right. That would be a great question. But so what I would say is once the Eucharist is no longer identifiable as the Eucharist, right? We sort of consider that at that point it's been absorbed into the person, right? And so it's no longer at that point the Eucharist, right? So, for example, if someone would drop a host on the ground and, we weren't able to consume it, we'd put it in a chalice with some water and let it dissolve. And then we'd stir it up, and then we'd go and pour it in a outside in the ground somewhere in a special place, right? Then we'd purify the vessel and all that good stuff. But it would cease to be the Eucharist at a certain point. And I think that if someone eats it and then, throws up and it's not identifiable, I still think out of abundance of caution, right? That phrase that's used all the time. I would do my best to collect it in some way, and maybe not put it in the toilet or in a trash can, but maybe to bury it outside. If that's possible. If you can identify it, then I would take that and I would treat that in a special way and then clean up the rest. No question is off limits on Father Craig Fridays. We can talk about anything. That'd be my approach to it. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. But that would be my thought. Yeah,
it seems pretty reasonable. So okay, cool. Alrighty. Well, Aspire is tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen.
Dun, dun, dun.
It is here, and I put my other notes in the wrong spot. There they are. Aspire, it is tomorrow. It is the 6th, February 6th, from 1 to 5 p.m. We're going to have Matt and Cameron Frad here at Our Lady of Wisdom. Matt does Pints with Aquinas, and Cameron does Among the Lilies podcasts. So if you haven't listened to those, finish this episode and then go listen to those. They're great. We are still doing online ticket sales. You can try to show up to the door. I have no idea what it's going to be like in terms of if we still have seating available or not, but we may have to turn you away. However, it is $10 for students, $20 for non-students, and we will have a link to send out if you want to do it all virtually. So to do that, go to txstatecatholic.org/aspire. That's txstatecatholic.org/aspire to buy your tickets. It's going to be a great conference. I'm really excited about it. Matt and Cameron are both awesome Catholic speakers. I think it's going to be very edifying.
It's going to be fantastic. And I do encourage you to join us online. We'd love to have you present there, and there'll be some fun interactions and things that is only available if you do watch it live. So we'd love to have you be a part of that. Please join us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah. Finally, as always, if you have a topic or a question you'd like us to answer, send those in to podcast@txstatecatholic.org. Next week, we will be getting back into some user-submitted questions, why do we always say that? Some viewer-submitted questions. So podcast@txstatecatholic.org.
Because they could be users too.
They're users of the internet.
There you go. Yes.
That's you.
Email. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay.
Pay attention.
All right.
Yeah.
Instagram @OLOWTXState. That's our Instagram handle. It's awesome. You should follow it. Father Craig.
I just was thinking about email. I just think at Homestar Runner, they relaunched their site again, and they have some new strong bad email it's just okay. I'm so old. I'm dating myself right now.
I have an SBC Global email. That's pretty old, right?
Oh my goodness.
This is before then.
Hey, everybody. Our Lady of Wisdom.
Pray for us.